My 9-year-old son, Jake, lay with his head in my lap as we sat in the back seat. His mom, my ex-wife, Jessica, had been driving for nearly 4 hours. Nobody had slept. We existed in the cobwebby neverland between slumber and consciousness. I was on my way to prison. The Man Who Sold the World played as we took the long drive up the gatehouse. I preferred Bowie's original version over the Nirvana cover. Those guys are dead now. Both saw their impending deaths, Bowie by cancer, Cobain by his own hand. It's a hell of a thing to know when you're going to die. Maybe it's a blessing. I envied them. I wasn't close to death, but I was about to enter hell. Purgatory was years away. At least 3 to 5, according to the judge. That's when I would be released and could find a path to redemption in earnest. We got out of the car and stretched our contorted bodies, and nobody had spoken for the better part of the ride. There was nothing left to say. Apologies had exploded forth for days and weeks prior. I'd been many things in life. Devoted father, 9/11 first responder, philanthropist. Now I wore a new label. Convicted felon. I was a white-collar criminal. In my haste to build a generational business to hand off to my son, I took shortcuts and failed to protect my clients from my partner who ran off with their money. It didn't matter that I intended no harm and also lost everything. Willful ignorance was not an excuse. And it certainly wasn't a defense. None of it mattered now. At this point, hopeful ruminations seemed fruitless, especially in the shadows of the gun towers and razor wire. My family and I walked a funeral dirge to the intake building. Inmates on work detail sized me up in the camouflage of their bland khakis and nondescript faces. I paused before stepping inside and surveyed the surroundings. The gauzy lemon butter sunrise over the farms and hayfields in the distance seemed stolen from an Edward Hopper painting. The sun-bleached maroon siding of the barn was the last vivid color I would remember, beside the gentle Delft blue of my son's eyes. I stepped toward the reinforced plexiglass window and handed in my paperwork. Hunger gnawed at me. Nerves had gotten the better of me, and I'd passed on breakfast. There'd been no final meal. My attempt to poison myself in order to forget what lay ahead fittingly ended with a spoiled bottle of wine too rancid to drink. Jake's grip on my hand tightened as a guard approached. Jessica aged in front of me. We were amazing parents. Great friends, but lousy husband and wife. This was the final straw. Pain and anger stripped her of the ability to process the moment and how we got there. Wearing my best liar's smile, I told her that everything would be fine. Knowing that she now carried the burden of shuttling my son to all of his athletic activities, lost a substantial portion of the family income, and had made her a laughingstock among the town. Jess was a clip-winged angel who walked the earth. She was ostracized by close friends and family for her unwavering support of the person I once was and had the potential to be. We had been through more things in the almost 20 years we had been together than some families experience in a lifetime. Miscarriages, sickness, my emotional distancing after being a first responder during 9/11. She knew I was a great father. No legal punishment would be more severe than being separated from my son. I worshipped Saint Jessica of the perpetually lost cause. She never gave up on me when I had, at times, given up on myself. She saved my life by reminding me in no small way that I could still make a difference in this world, and leaving it was not an option. I owed her. Words were the only currency I had to repay her, and I was bankrupt. I knelt down and locked eyes with Jake as I clutched his shoulders. I rambled about impending phone calls, visits once a month. I used to be his hero. A god in those eyes full of mythic wonder. Standing at the entrance to prison, I was Icarus plummeting to earth, and my son was a horrified onlooker. His eyes, flashing aquamarine seas, were uncomprehending and raged with denial. In a few short months, the Green Power Ranger would replace me as his hero. A hastily concocted shrine to me consisting of photos, letters, and random ephemera from movies and concerts we attended would languish on a shelf. Jake stood perched on a precipice crumbling beneath him. His 9-year-old brain short-circuited as he struggled for words. To say something, anything. A sacred mantra that would make this moment stop. He believed he had healing hands. His touch could render any harm asunder, and he placed them on my heart. Then, searching for magic. But prison is a place bereft of magic and hope, where healing hands were powerless. The only magic was in the disappearing act the calendar provided. Abracadabra. A day passed. Hocus pocus. A month. Jake's lip quivered, and my fingers sank deeper into his shoulders. Do not give them the satisfaction. I gritted through a smile. A sly grin crossed his lips, appeared and passed like the sun peeking out through the clouds during a hurricane. Wrap it up. Neither gruff nor ominous, compassionless and detached. 1 minute. I was a water of urgent platitudes. Be brave, be a good boy for your mom, focus on school, channel your anger into sports. I was imploding. A supernova feeding on myself when I needed to be strong for Jake, for Jess, for me. I hugged him until our hearts touched and cradled each other as I fought back tears. The guard said, "Let's go. In a fucking minute!" I barked. I was allotted the briefest moment of empathy. Maybe he was a father. Maybe there was an ounce of humanity, of decency here. Instead, he withheld submitting my commissary funds for 2 weeks to remind me who was in charge. I kissed Jake on the forehead and hugged Jess, and I whispered, "Day 1 is almost done." The guard led me away, and I refused to look back. "I love you, Daddy," echoed and fell from decrepit institutional walls. Love wouldn't stick there. Jake's words stuck to my heart, embedded in my brain. I raised a fist in defiance, in acknowledgement. I was Judd Nelson at the end of The Breakfast Club, our favorite movie. I was led into a stark concrete room with a metal bench. Strip. I was already naked, so taking off my clothes felt negligible. At my sentencing, my foolishness, lack of foresight, and failure of judgment was exposed, leaving me a hideous monster. I was a fetid corpse for the press to tear apart. Jake and Jess hadn't even left the grounds before what was left of my soul was laid bare. Bowie reverberated in my mind. Broken lyrics about having died long ago. I was cognizant of my own death. Unlike Bowie, I had the bittersweet luxury of being born again, baptized in the primordial ooze that was prison. I'd get the chance that the thin white Duke didn't have.